This video is sponsored by Awaken Realms, and I've been playing through their newest title, Tainted Grail: The Fall of Avalon. This is a massively ambitious open-world RPG that just launched its first chapter in Steam Early Access. To be aware of exactly what you're getting yourself into though, I'll be breaking down everything you need to know about the RPG elements, gear, combat mechanics, and the overall scope of content that's on offer right now. I'll throw a link to it down below if you already know this is your kind of thing. The Fall of Avalon is set in the dark fantasy Tainted Grail universe, and has a big emphasis on character building with many skills to tweak, highly dense exploration with secret nuggets tucked around pretty much everywhere, and a narrative with a lot of lore to dig into if you want to, and of course, first person killing stuff. To do that, you'll primarily be focusing on using one or two-handed melee weapons, a bow, or spells, or a hybrid combo of all of those like what I ended up doing. This has a classic two-hand wield system, where you can put one-handed things in either your right or left hands. That could be a melee weapon with a shield or a spell and a shield, two spells, or a big two-handed weapon instead. You get the idea. The map you'll have access to in this first chapter of the game is decently sized, and the devs say it has about 10 to 15 hours of content here, but I would say you could easily squeeze more than that from my experience. There's gear and materials meticulously hidden all over the place, which causes some obsessive tendencies to kick in, but equipment load will limit you from being able to take back the 7 entire dining sets, 9 chest armors, 17 unspilt soups, and 23 animal parts you shoved into your pockets. It also seemed like nearly every NPC I talked to, no matter how insignificant they seemed, here's random disheveled bar guy, often triggered a side quest if you took the time to navigate all of their dialogue. Seriously, talk to every single person in this game, and you'll have more quests than you can pick which one to do next. No matter what you're doing in this, it's likely always improving something, because the game's proficiency system levels things up just by doing them. Want to jump higher, bounce around like a weirdo, and you'll eventually be able to jump higher. The main categories that your character can gain proficiency in are one-handed and two-handed weapons, blocking, athletics, light, medium, and heavy armor, archery, evasion, agility, sneak, theft, magic, alchemy, cooking, and handcrafting. One-handed proficiency increases the damage of using single-handed weapons. These are often the faster melee weapons, which consume less stamina per swing. The advantage of building a one-handed focus character is for opening up that offhand for better defensive options with a shield, or all kinds of other variety with a spell in that offhand. Two-handed proficiency increases your damage with two-handed weapons. These are going to be generally slower to swing but harder to hit, and consume a hefty amount of stamina. You really have to be careful with your character's weight with this one, which I'll explain in a bit. Proficiency in blocking increases the percentage of damage blocked with a shield, or if you don't have one, when defending with a melee weapon. If you time a block right at the last second before getting hit, you can knock enemies back, which also chews through their stamina, that green bar underneath their health. When holding up a block, you can also press attack to push them back, which drains some of their stamina and is good for crowd control. Breaking someone's stamina will put them into a staggered state, which sets them up for some extra hits before they can get back up. Ideally, they don't. Then the proficiency in athletics, which increases your movement speed. I personally like the sprinting slide into attack, which lets you start a swing while maintaining a high speed. Next are the 3 armor proficiencies, increasing the percentage of damage blocked by light, medium, and heavy armor. Instead of explaining what armor is, let's talk about your character's weight. Rude? If your weight lands in the light category, you'll use 25% less stamina for all stamina draining actions. This lets you get in more swings with your weapon or dash around more efficiently. If you're in the medium weight section, spells use 50% more mana and your dash is 35% shorter. Without that stamina reduction from lightweight, you're not going to be able to swing quite as many times, and you can feel that difference in the dash distance. Then we have the Biggin Heavyweight class. Spells will require 100% more mana, stamina drains 50% faster, you're 100% easier to spot from a distance, and your dash is 55% shorter. Ouch. Then we have the Archery Proficiency, which increases your outgoing damage with bows. Bows work pretty well with a high sneak stat, but you can also dash while aiming, making it viable for use in general combat as well. The Evasion Proficiency decreases the stamina cost of dashing and increases its speed. If you're not using something that can block, you're really going to have to rely on evasion because enemies do rush you down pretty hard. Bonus tip, you can prime up a slow heavy attack and release the swing during a dash, which is good at closing the distance when you're at a distance. Next, the Agility stat, which increases your jump height. Start getting your jump on early so you can get up to weird places later. The Sneak Proficiency reduces your overall noise and increases movement speed when crouching. There's a lot of opportunities for stealth in this, and sneak can be pretty useful. Theft Proficiency makes lockpicking of doors and containers easier. Easier means there'll be a wider sweet spot when you're doing this little lockpick mechanic. Then we have the Magic Proficiency that increases spell damage and reduces mana cost. Magic is pretty useful in this, since your mana regenerates on its own, and it can be skilled into to come back even faster. You can throw 2 different spells in each hand, or a weapon in one, spell in the other. There's summon spells out there to be found if you want some temporary companions, and even magically spawned melee weapons to use as well. In the opening prison tutorial area, if you go into this crevice on these stairs, that will lead you to find the spectral sword summon early on. This will let you conjure a sword, which will scale better if you're focusing on a magic proficiency but still want to use melee. Also, not tied to magic necessarily, but the meter to the left of your main gauges is an activatable slow-mo ability. Everybody gets access to that towards the start of the game. Next is Alchemy Proficiency, that increases the quality of crafted potions. You'll need an alchemy table to do this, which lets you create restorative or buff potions if you've learned the recipe. These often require some kind of liquid base, so I recommend picking up all of the fluid containers and bottles whenever you come across them. Then we have the Cooking Proficiency, which increases the quality of cooked meals. You can either outright make a specific dish if you have a recipe, or combine things yourself to try to invent a dish. It's pretty generous with the ingredients, so this works more often than not. At the very start of the game, hang a right out of your prison cell, and you'll find this piece of paper that provides the knowledge of 5 easy recipes. And last is Handcrafting Proficiency, which increases the quality of crafted armors and weapons. All weapons and armors you make or find can be inlaid with relic slots that allow you to attach extra modifier gems. You can also outright improve the stats of a piece of gear, adding a +1, +2 to it, and so on, at the cost of gold. And that makes up the main proficiencies, which will be dynamically leveling up according to your playstyle. That makes it so there's no traditional character class system, but there are attributes and skills you can invest in. Strength improves your melee damage and armor, while reducing the stamina cost of attacking and blocking. Dexterity increases attack speed and range damage, makes you more resistant to status effects, and decreases the stamina cost of dashing and shooting arrows. Spirituality increases your total mana, your mana regeneration, magic armor, and overall spell power. Perception boosts the chance to land critical hits, reduces how much sound you make while sneaking, and improves lockpicking. Endurance increases your total health pool, max stamina, and overall carrying capacity. And practicality improves your chances of finding extra loot, lowers store prices, and boosts your crafting abilities. There's also some skill checks that can happen during dialogue which will adhere to these attributes. depending on how many points you invest in these, will allow you to assign various bonus skills, some of which have major effects. For example, this one will slow down time when aiming with a bow, or here provides a whopping 100 extra armor when your mana is full. These can really modify your playstyle, and when you combine these with the distributed attributes, the proficiency system, and your equipped gear, that is what dictates your character's overall build. So that pretty much wraps up a brief overview of Tainted Grail: The Fall of Avalon. The devs are encouraging player feedback as it expands during early access, so speak up. And honestly, it already has a really solid foundation, especially for Day 0 early access, which is what I've been playing here. Again, I put a link to grab it right now on Steam down in the description, and a big shout out to Awaken Realms for sponsoring this video. As always, I'm Alex, and thanks for watching.